really ended our episode like that. They really ended the episode like that, guys. Come on! Why we gotta do these cliffhangers? We know he's fine. He's absolutely fine. I have no doubt in my mind. We're gonna cut back next week, and he's gonna be like, yes, this is one of my secret 43 background character techniques. The play dead, or some shit like that. You know he's fine. The fake tension is pretty funny to me. But anyway, welcome back to the channel today, guys, as we talk about the Eminence and Shadow episode 7. And you know, I wasn't in that great of a mood today. But this series, man, this series perks me up so much when I watch it. This is the most fun series to me to do this season by far. It really is. It's such a joy each week. And this week is no different because we got a little bit of romance in our episode today. And our episode ended on a kind of fairly serious note, honestly, for once. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it and talk about the Eminence and Shadow episode 7 today, because it was a fun one. Now, our episode today begins a little bit sensual, honestly, as we see Sherry just sitting there staring at the chocolates that Sid gave her. And she's got some thoughts. She's sitting there with emotions swirling inside her that she probably doesn't even understand, because I would say she's a recluse, honestly, because she doesn't interact with people really at all besides her father. So something like this is like completely foreign to her, and she has no clue how to respond. But I'm just gonna say, you don't eat chocolate like this from someone you don't like or aren't interested in. That's all I'm gonna say. But it's here we actually transition to Sid meeting up with New at school, actually, because she grabbed the uniform to infiltrate the school. And I gotta admit, looks kind of good. She looks kind of good in the uniform. But she's really here to give him a report about what happened in our previous episode, as she says, about the man in black we apprehended last night. As expected, a powerful brainwashing has destroyed his mind. It's a shared trait of the cult of Diablos' vanguard, the third children. Unfortunately, no matter what I tried, it was impossible to squeeze any information out of him. But our boy Sid is not really listening because he's more focused on the Bushin Festival student preliminaries that's going on. As we transition to Bulk telling him, hey, I entered you, bro. You're welcome. Now, obviously, our boy Sid don't want to do that. He don't want to stand out, so he tells them, no, I'm not doing that. But they're persistent, saying, come on, bro, if you participate, you'll easily get some girls to cling on you. As Sid, you know, has to, as a friend, give them some punches in the gut. As they're like, oh god, I wonder why my stomach hurts all of a sudden. As we transition back to New, though, she continues and says that they take orphans with magical aptitude and the children of poor families, and administer drugs and brainwashing to create the children of Diablos. It's honestly pretty fucked up. The cult has been doing this for many years. I suspect the cult's goal is to use the name of Shadow Garden to lure us out of hiding. And guys, this show really is kind of like Overlord. Sid's not listening at all. He's mumbling to himself about the tournament, and she's just like, yes, my lord, I understand exactly what you mean. She continues and says, however, I feel I should also inform you that we recently confirmed the presence of a named first child in the royal capital. He's called Rex, the game of betrayal. A first child, one who has maintained his sense of self despite being one of the children. And if they're deploying named children in the royal capital, it's clear that they have some purpose in mind. All jokes aside, this is a fairly serious situation, actually. But Sid just wasn't listening whatsoever to any of it, as he's still mumbling to himself about the tournament as he actually walks off and leaves New alone. As she thinks to herself that in any and every circumstance, he always leads us straight to the best solution. No, he's had the answers from the start. This is the wisdom of the shadows. More like the wisdom of blind faith, honestly. After Sid goes, we actually see something kind of interesting with New, honestly, though. As she looks around and sees all the students at school and says, "This is the life I would be living if." As we actually transition to her, it looks like dancing with, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the knights that Iris has in her personal guard from our previous episode. For the guards that she made, this is one of the guys, right? As we see her dancing and happy, but all of a sudden we see her horribly disfigured and turned into a creature. As she says that I'd rather have it this way, rather than live my life without knowing the truth. And as she walks away, we see in the background, I think that very same guy sits down at the table. So do they have like a connection of some sort? I can imagine. So maybe we'll see that in the future. Who knows? But it's here we actually transition to the tournament where we see that Sid is fighting what appears to be the student council president that we met in our previous episode. As he says, Student Council President Rose Oriana, Princess of the Oriana Kingdom, land of art and culture. And while being the princess of the land of art and culture, she is also the best swordswoman in the academy. The textbook definition of a named character. My opponent is unparalleled in skill and unsurpassed in popularity. Now is the time to reveal the 48 master techniques I've honed. And as the match begins, we just get a slow-mo shot of them charging at each other. Black and white. Very intense. But this guy, Sid, dude, literally throws like a packet of fake blood in his mouth and lets her send him flying. Literally crashing into the screen. Great touch, by the way. Really funny. As he says, the background character, secret technique, spinning drill fall, bloody tornado. As he's just sitting there, ass up, he's like, I am truly the perfect bit character. I kind of agree with that. But right before the judge is about to call the match, he's like, wait a minute, I won't let it end here. As he just starts spewing out the fake blood. As Oriana says, Judge, there's still fire in his eyes. We have to continue. As Sid thinks to himself, my sincerest thanks, Miss Oriana. I still have 47 background character techniques to show off. And guys, this shit is wild. He just continuously lets her throw him around. Like, not yet. I can still keep going. I can keep going, guys. Eventually, she asks him, like, why are you so determined? I've slashed you several times, and I imbued every one of those attacks with magic. And yet you refuse to let the battle end. I owe you an apology for having underestimated you at the beginning of this match. As she actually starts charging up some magic and intends to finish this, but the judge jumps in the way! And I'm sitting here like, no, it was getting fun! Don't ruin it! He jumps in the way and literally says, the match is done! We're done here! As Oriana says, I won the fight, but I am utterly defeated in the battle of our spirits. As we just see Sid flailing, getting carried off on a stretcher. And as we transition to after the match, we just see Sid all bandaged up saying, I hope I get a chance to show off the rest of my techniques. But all of a sudden, he actually gets stopped by Sherry as she says, you're not hurt too badly, are you? And as they go and sit down and have a conversation, she says, I watched your match. I don't usually watch sword fights or anything like that. But the way you kept standing back up, it was just incredible. Sid's just sitting there like, yo, this girl's a little weird, huh? As she actually gives him some cookies that she baked, and I'm like, oh shit. We got another member of the harem added to the collection. What is this, like 150? As Sid says, maybe she's thanking me for showing her those sweet background character moves. She says, if it's alright with you, I'd like to start out as friends. Sid's just like, well, I guess I don't see a problem with that. Sure, why not? And she is souped as hell as it reveals that her father's on the other side of the class. As she's like, I did it. I'm like, yo, that's so weird. I don't know how I would feel if someone was trying to ask me out like this or approach me and their father was right there. That would feel so awkward. As Sid looks at him and says, Lutheran Barnett, Assistant Principal of the Academy of Science. A master swordsman accomplished in both martial arts and scholastic arts. who was once even champion of the Bushin Festival. He's a pretty damn accomplished guy. He says, he's on the list of people I should never interact with if I want to remain as obscure as possible. As he's able to deduce that since she's calling him father, she must be Sherry Barnett. Unquestionably a named character. As he realizes that he's been a little careless. As Sherry's father starts saying that this girl is so devoted to her research. In fact, she's currently absorbed in a project researching an artifact for the Night Order. That's probably why she has no real friends. Like, damn, Dad, burn. She seems carefree now, but she's been through a lot. If it's not too much to ask, please be good to her. Sid really doesn't want to do that because he's trying to be as obscure as possible. But when he looks at them like this, he can't really say no, can he? As he says, for now, I'll use my injuries as an excuse to get some distance from her. As we transition to Sherry in her lab, and she's just really enamored with this chocolate, man. As she says, I could go visit him to check on him. That wouldn't be weird, would it? But it's here that she feels another new emotion that I'm sure she hasn't felt before. Jealousy, as she remembers seeing Sid with Alexia for a long time. As we transition to her actually going to meet Alexia face to face. As Alexia actually welcomes her to come in. And in this shot, we see that she has a picture frame of her and Sid, but she's hiding it behind the other picture frames. That is extremely telling. That's all I'm gonna say. That is extremely telling. Someone might not be over that breakup. That's all I'm gonna say. As Alexia says that, I think I can guess why you've come to see me, Sherry. This is about the artifact analysis, isn't it? But she tells her no. And Alexia starts getting a little embarrassed here. She says, then what brings you here then? I think she has an idea. As Sherry says, there's something I'd like to ask you, Miss Alexia. I was wondering if you were romantically involved with anyone. Alexia's just like, excuse me? Sherry continues and says, I mean, I heard you were in a relationship with Sid. And I was wondering if maybe you two were still kind of dating? But Alexia says, we've broken up. In fact, we weren't really dating to begin with. And she's all smiles, but the vibe she's giving off ain't smiles. We were just pretending to be a couple for reasons I won't bore you with. And Sherry's just like, really? And Alexia's like, oh no, where is this going? As Sherry says, that's such a relief. I actually happened to make friends with Sid the other day. So I got really curious about the two of you. I couldn't concentrate on my research and I didn't know what was going on. It's so good to hear that you two aren't a couple. Bro, Alexia is getting heated. She's getting so freaking mad right now. She's so heated. As she says, I'm so happy to hear that. And as Sherry leaves the office, we just hear a loud slam. Bro, she is not over that. She's so heated about that still. But as we transition back to Sid, he says, when I went back to class the other day, or after a couple days, it felt like everyone was nicer to me for some reason. But I was probably just imagining it. Nothing's changing the status quo. That is what a bit character truly wishes for. As Little Skull tells us that they're going to explain how the student election works. And I think I already have a general idea of why he feels like people are nicer to him now. I think I already know, but we'll let that go till next week. As we see that Sid still has that grip weight that he used even in his other life. He still has that with him even now. And honestly, low-key, that's actually like a good exercise. Like, I have one of those too. Like, it honestly works really well. And it's here we see Oriana actually come in and say, we're here to explain the election to fill the vacancy on the student council. And I'm sitting here like, gee, I wonder who's gonna take that spot, guys. I wonder. But it's here we transition to actually a more serious scene, as I imagine we transition to the cult of Diablos, as they seem to activate this kind of spear that, when activated, seems to envelop the entire campus of the school. Now, Alexia was actually on the outside of this barrier before it was deployed because she was injured. And when she tries to get into the school, she realizes it's closed. And upon further inspection, she sees inside of a window that there's a severed arm in there. And as we transition back to Sid, he realizes that I can't use my magic right now. And apparently no one else in the vicinity has noticed that. And it's in this moment that the door busts in, and we see that the school is being invaded as they say, "Nobody move. We are Shadow Garden. And we're taking over this academy," as we see that they have members spread throughout the entire campus. Hands where I can see them. As Oriana stands up to him and says, "You don't seem to understand what kind of place you've invaded. Take over this Academy of Dark Knights? That is hardly the act of a sane person. Normally." And since she refuses to drop her weapon, he says that, "Then you'll make the perfect example." And as he charges at her, she realizes that she can't use magic, and he shatters her sword and says, "Without magic, you can't parry the sword of a Dark Knight." And right before he's about to cut down Oriana, Sid actually runs up, pushes her out the way, and gets a huge slash across his chest. And obviously, Oriana is shocked. As our episode ends with Sid just laying there in a pool of his own blood. And like I said earlier, there's no way he's actually hurt. Like, maybe there's a chance because he can't use magic. So maybe he can't heal right this second, but there's no way, man. Like I said, I fully expect him to get up and be like, "Oh, this is," after everyone's gone, of course, and say that, "Oh, this is one of my background character techniques. The pretend death," or something like that. But this is a fun episode, you know? We're slowly starting to introduce more and more of the story. And I feel that Sherry's going to be a very big part of it, actually, because of that artifact that she's studying. It's going to play a big part, I assume. And I also can't shake the feeling that Oriana is going to become one of the girls that gets added to the harem, too. I just can't shake that feeling. I really get that. Because after their fight, earlier in the episode, she told him that, "I respect you, Sid." So I don't know. I feel like she's going to become a person we see regularly as well. But who knows? And what's Alexia going to do? She'll do something probably. They didn't show her for no reason. But yet again, just another really fun episode, guys. I always get so juiced up every time Eminence and Shadow is around because I know I'm going to have fun. And I hope you guys have fun with it too. So until next time, guys, I hope you have a great day, week, month, and year. And until then, deuces, have a blessed day, and go learn yourself some background character techniques too. You never know when you might get slashed across the chest. But I'll see you guys next time.